The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Gabby Hurst with SWK Technologies. And we were going to go ahead and jump in a little bit of housekeeping items, and then we'll go ahead and get started. As you all may know, you're in listen-only mode, so if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the questions box, and we'll go over them at the end of the presentation. So again, my name is Gabby Hurst. I'm with SWK, and I work with organizations like yourself, helping them streamline their accounts payables process and really create some efficiency around AP automation. For today's agenda, we're going to talk about common pain points associated with manual AP processing, 5 ways that AP automation can help grow your business. We're going to take a look at the AvidXchange solution and then go over any questions at the end of the presentation. So first, we're going to talk about common pain points associated with manual AP processing. The biggest challenge is slow invoice processing. A lot of organizations, they experience anywhere from 20 to 30% of the revenue that they lose in inefficiencies. And this is due to complex routing workflow processes. A lot of it is manually distributed. Decision-making kind of is delayed through departments because there's no visibility. Slow invoice coding. Multiple people are coding in invoices across the department. Again, lag of the invoice coding, delayed verification, backlog of invoices being processed. So we see that across a lot of organizations. Another issue that we hear, or is very common with organizations, is limited resources. I know a lot of people are delegating multiple tasks throughout your finance department, and we really want to be able to leverage your finance department's talent, and manual processes is just not efficient and is very time consuming. Another thing is a lot of organizations will receive inquiries from vendors asking where their payment is. That actually creates a lot of risk to your organization as far as payments. It can create fraud. And for most instances, a lot of organizations don't have time to really evaluate how they're doing their AP processing, whether it be in-house or being outsourced. Another one, and I kind of mentioned it in the first one with the manual processes, lack of visibility. So we see a lot of lack of visibility on payment status. A lot of people have to track down manually where the payments are in the process, a lack of visibility into late payments. A lot of times we see, customers who have issues with late payments because of the invoices being entered and there was a delay on approvals. Another one is cash flow. There's not visibility in cash flow. And then another one, again, we talked about would be for fraud. There's not visibility in where the process is with the invoices, and that increases fraud. So we've talked about the pain points and, where we see organizations struggling with AP process. Now let's talk about ways that we can improve it. And the webinar was about 5 ways to automate and how we can help your company grow. So let's talk about the first way we can help you grow. One is through seamless integration. With the ERP that you're using, it's key to have a solution that's integrated tightly with your ERP. And what this does is creates transactional data that you can have visibility into. It's easier for you to inquire on that data, where the process is with the invoices, have they been distributed properly, and where the payment process is. Again, too, you don't want to burden your IT department with a outsourced solution. So going with a SaaS approach will actually give you easier ability to automate. Another one is reducing time spent on tedious tasks. Again, we see a lot across different organizations that on average they're spending about 8 hours handling and managing invoices, and that's keying them in, going through the approval process. Another one is manually cutting checks. That's another one that we see that a lot of organizations are spending a lot of time on. Another one is, again, just not being able to fully utilize the technology within the organization. Another way that AP automation can help is going to be simplifying the process. Again, we talked about earlier where you have complex workflow, and again, they're being routed through email. With an AP automation solution, that you would have workflow built into the solution, and that gives you visibility on where those approvals are. You also want to be able to create visibility so you can have accountability for your accounting department. You can see how long and how the invoices were processed, being able to identify where you can improve in those processes, and then uncover any gaps that could lead to fraud or compliancy issues. And another one, big one, again, we keep touching upon is going to be fraud. AFP fraud survey actually reported 75% of companies have already fell victim of fraud, and that's an increase over 2015 at 71%. With an AP automation solution, you can have unlimited electronic approvals, positive pay on checks that are sent out, and the ability to work with your existing banking relationship. So with all these 5 ways that you can improve your company through AP automation, let's talk about the solution that we would be presenting. So let's talk about AvidXchange. I'm going to show a couple slides, and then I'm actually going to go into the live system and show you how AvidXchange would work. So if you see here, all the bubbles highlighted in green, that's where AvidXchange is going to help your business. So currently, if you're routing invoices manually, you're keying them in, you're going through approval process via email, you have POs that you have to track down and associate with it. AvidXchange is going to be able to help you on that part. And then once everything has been approved and sent over to your ERP, we can start looking at the pay process. And again, taken away from cutting manual checks, doing payment approvals, and then being able to consolidate those payments once they've been processed. So with AvidXchange, we're actually a service, and what happens is you'll receive your invoices via email or paper, and then you'll have a dedicated email for your organization where they are emailed. And then from there, AvidXchange is actually, as a service, going to enter in all the header information into AvidXchange. From there, you'll actually receive a notification saying that you have invoices for approval. You can also scan them in or mail them into AvidXchange to go through the same process. And this is what the portal is going to look like. So you're going to receive a notification that you have invoices for approval, and you're going to log in. A nice thing too about the AvidXchange portal, you can have a limited amount of approvers that can access the system. So as you can see here, these are the list of invoices I have for approval. This screen is actually customizable. You can filter out by whatever columns that you want or additional information if you want to approve at a high glance level. You can also bulk approve on this field here, and then you can also enter in invoices that weren't able to be accessed or sent into AvidXchange. So I'm going to click on an invoice here. As you can see here in this left column, this is all the header information that was available on the invoice. So as a service from AvidXchange, what will happen is it's received, and then one indexer is going to enter in this information. And then a secondary indexer is going to go ahead and validate this information to eliminate any errors. You can see here you have the attached invoice image that was sent in. And the nice thing too about this, you can reduce any kind of file storage costs that you have associated with the invoices. They are all located here, and they're archived up to 7 years. But of course, if you would like to have a paper record, you can always print it here or print to PDF if you have a document management system. On this first tab, you're going to have the distribution level. So AvidXchange is going to enter in the main headline or item line here, and it's going to have the amount. You can also allocate here multiple line items through the Smart Sync tool. If you have any attachments associated with this invoice, you can upload them here. You'll have record of any comments that were affiliated with this invoice. You can also contact the vendor via this tab and just let them know that if there's any discrepancies here, or you can email internally anybody that, if you were asking, why was this information entered wrong, or why is this line item wrong, you can always contact them via here. And then that will actually create any history dependent on this invoice. There's also workflow available. You have unlimited workflow steps that you can have here. So let's just say I wanted to have additional workflow associated with this. So anything over 500, it would be sent to my other approver, Charlotte, and then Charlotte would have to approve it and then would go to my other approver, Jeff. Again, talking about fraud when we were talking earlier in the PowerPoint, anything that has happened or any action items that happen against this invoice, the archive will be records here, and that will be stored up to 7 years. Also, another thing when we were talking about workflow, if you have anybody that is out of the office and you need to create an ad hoc approver, you can go ahead and do that here. So once all the invoices have been reviewed and all the information looks correct, you would go ahead and approve them, and then you would create what would be a batch that we would send back to your ERP. Now, AvidXchange and SWK has partnered together, and we've created integration for Sage 100, where that information would be pushed back into Sage 100. Now, also, we had talked about Pay. Now, Pay is available through the AvidXchange network. They have over 420,000 vendors that they work with. And what will happen is once you onboard with AvidXchange, they'll talk to your vendors on how their method of payment is preferred. And from there, you will be able to submit and approve payments through the AvidXchange network on your behalf. So you won't have to cut manual checks anymore or have to worry about, sending ACHs or direct deposits. You'll see here where the batch was uploaded and approved, and then you can actually click on a hyperlink here where you can see an image of the check once it's been cleared. And again, talking about the payment process you see here, your payments are processed within 2 to 3 days once approved. They're pulled from a trust account where, again, there's positive pay. So those funds are pulled from your bank account, sent to a trust account, and then the payments approved in the AvidXchange network are pulled from there. Again, we talked about we have virtual cards where your vendors have already pre-negotiated with AvidXchange how they want to be paid, ACH or through check. And another, again, nice thing is that AvidXchange will cut the checks on your behalf so you don't have the costs associated with the check processing or, with the stamps and everything and sending them out. Another thing too is your vendors will have access to their vendor network. So instead of them contacting you in regards of where their payment status is, they can actually log into the vendor portal, see where their payment is and has it been approved and what form of payment that is being sent over to them. So that's a nice benefit for your vendors to have. So I'm going to open it up to any questions that we may have. I see we have a couple in the box. I have one that says, thank you, Michelle. What are the costs associated with AvidXchange checks? So AvidXchange as a service, there is a cost per transaction. There's not any additional cost for AvidXchange to cut the checks on your behalf. That's all included in the service fees. And if there's any other questions, and thank you, Michelle. That's a great question. Can I send my vendor payments through the AvidXchange, all my vendor payments? Yes, you have a choice to dedicate which payments you want to send to the AvidXchange portal. If you have ones that you have a close relationship, let's just say on a credit card and you have benefits from that, or you just want to keep that relationship internally, you can choose to still continue to do those payments through your organization and then send the payment batch over to AvidXchange, whichever ones that you want AvidXchange to do for you. Yes, and again, you can still print checks from there or internally. You don't have to send it over to AvidXchange. What if I need to change my invoice approval process? Yes, so that's actually very easy, and I'm going to go ahead and exit out of here. You have the ability to change your approval process through the admin tab here. So there's lots of flexibility. And in addition to that, any of your approvers that you have logging into the system, there are security roles that you can assign for each individual that is on the AvidXchange portal. So it's very secure information that they're able to see, and you can create that workflow with flexibility. There's also a bunch of reports available to you based on the criteria that you have in the portal. And these are all canned reports that are available. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, now that we've reviewed AvidXchange, talked about ways that we can improve your AP process, we've also talked about the pain points that you're experiencing. And if there aren't any other questions, what we'll do is we'll send this recording out. In addition to that, I will send over the video for our Sage 100 integration and what that would look like to you as on Sage 100. Okay, well, thank you everyone and have a great day.